the construction of a temporary fence along its 210-kilometer-long land border with the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad.
Polish Defense Minister Mariusz Balachak announced the decision amid concerns in Warsaw that Russian plans to orchestrate an influx of migrants. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I'm CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richie Alagao Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines.
The country's October 2022 inflation rate accelerates to 7.7%. The Department of Education says schools log almost 4,000 COVID-19 infections among learners since September. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is set to participate in ASEAN summits in Cambodia. The United States and South Korea continue their joint air drill despite missile launch threat by Pyongyang. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will skip the G20 summit if Russian President Vladimir Putin attends the event.
The country's inflation rate increased to its 14-year high amid the devastation of severe Typhoon Paeng, the peso depreciation, and high fuel prices. Mian Corvera for the details.
The Philippine inflation rate accelerates to 7.7% in October compared to 6.9% inflation in September. National Statistician Undersecretary Dennis Mapa said the October inflation is driven by the effects of severe Typhoon Paeng, which affected 16 out of 17 regions of the country, as well as the depreciation of peso due to a strong U.S. dollar and higher fuel prices. The 7.7% inflation last month was the highest in 14 years when the inflation clocked at 7.8% in December 2008 at the height of the global financial crisis. Mapa said almost all subgroups on food and services increased its prices, including poultry products, vegetables, refined sugar, flour, bread, and pasta. The cost of services in restaurants and accommodation, house rental, electricity, gas, and other fuels index. With the resumption of classes, the cost of education services and public transport fares have also increased.
Ito ay dahil sa mas mabilis na pagtaas ng presyo ng mga sumusunod: meat and other parts of slaughtered land animals at vegetables, tubers, cooking bananas at iba pa gaya ng repolyo. Nakaambag din sa pagtaas ng inflation ng food and non-alcoholic beverages ang bigas na may 0.8% inflation.
Mapa said the inflation has not reached its peak for this year. He said prices of commodities might increase this November until next month because of the effects of Typhoon Paeng in most areas of the country. For now, he said the consumer's purchasing power is equivalent only to 85 centavos for every peso.
The last highest was December 2008, 7.8%. Of course, 2008 is the a year of the global financial crisis. No, ang malaking push talaga ay yung food inflation. And alam natin na ang weight ng food basket sa ating national basket ay medyo mataas, nasa about 35%. I wish na ito na yung peak, but of course, as your national statistician, na nakikita natin yung mga datos, substantial probability na pwede pang tumaas by next month. Itong month pala ng Nobyembre.
The October inflation also settled within the target forecast range of 7.1 to 7.9% by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Mian Corvera reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Good news, motorists. There will be a rollback in the pump prices of diesel and kerosene next week. According to the Department of Energy, the expected rollback will range between 60 centavos and 75 centavos per liter for diesel. The price for kerosene is projected to drop by 75 centavos to 85 centavos. But for the price of gasoline, well, it's expected to slightly go up by 45 centavos to 8 peso per liter. Last week, oil products had a big-time price hike of 6 to 7 pesos per liter. This was followed by a minimal oil price rollback of 35 centavos to 1 peso and 10 centavos per liter this week. Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau Assistant Director Rodela Romero stated during the Laging Handa public hearing the factors affecting the increase of petroleum products prices.
Maraming naglilingers na factors sa merkado. Ilan sa kadahilanan sa pagtaas ng presyo ng produktong petrolyo ay yung winter season, yung seasonality of demand. Alam naman po natin, kamukha sa LPG, ginagamit po siyang heating fuel sa Northern Hemisphere countries. At hindi pa rin po naman nasusolusyonan yung geopolitical conflict na nangyayari sa Russia at saka sa Ukraine. So those are the factors na magko-contribute para tumaas.
The DOE is closely monitoring the price of petroleum products in areas under the state of calamity. The DOE expects that prices of fuel products in these places will increase.
Although nabalitaan po namin na merong nangyaring pagtaas ng presyo sa Antique po. Di po ba nabalitaan ng lahat yun? Kasi po may dalawa pong tulay na nasira po sa Antique.
The Marcos administration will continue supporting the sectors affected by the high prices of commodities as a result of the accelerated inflation rate in October. The October 22 inflation of 7.7% is higher by 0.8% compared to the September inflation, but within the government's target of 7.3 to 7.9%. Office of the Press Secretary Officer in Charge Undersecretary Cheloy Garafil said President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has directed the continuation of support to the most vulnerable sectors in the form of cash transfer distribution and fuel discounts to help cushion the impact of rising inflation. Malacanang has assured the public that it continues to monitor inflation and all contributing factors as it vows to explore all measures to alleviate its impact on the public. Earlier, the National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, said the acceleration of the inflation is due to the continuing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, as well as the increase in the global inflation and the effect on the global economy of the COVID-19 pandemic. NEDA also added the crisis faced by the country following the devastation from calamities.
A week after the deadly storm Paeng hit most regions of the country, the death toll jumps to 154, according to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC. The NDRRMC also reported that 4,124,267 individuals have been affected by the typhoon. The displaced individuals stand at 1,034,250. The NDRRMC said the losses incurred by Paeng to agriculture and infrastructure now cost of 5.6 billion pesos.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, has distributed 150 million pesos worth of financial and food assistance to the victims of severe tropical storm Paeng. According to Social Welfare and Development spokesman Assistant Secretary Romel Lopez, around 1.1 million families affected by Typhoon Paeng from 16 regions received assistance from DSWD. Lopez added the DSWD is also looking after the welfare of 35,000 families from different evacuation centers with the help of local government units. Lopez said the agency has 1.2 billion pesos left for the quick response funds, which could be used if another calamity would hit. Lopez expressed concerns about the department's funding if another calamity may hit the country because the Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, supports the calamity fund of DSWD. Meanwhile, DSWD Secretary Erwin Tulfo removed Regional Director Barry Chua from his position together with Assistant Regional Director Myla Gatchalian after Noveleta Cavite Mayor Dino Chua complained that the officials asked many requests requirements before they give financial and food assistance for the residents affected by the recent Typhoon Paeng. Lopez clarified that the relief of the two officials is to give way for the internal investigation ordered by Secretary Tulfo.
The Department of Health has recorded almost 4,000 COVID-19 cases in schools across the country since the resumption of classes in September, but majority of these cases are mild. We have Madeline Villar Moratillo with the details.
Since the resumption of face-to-face classes in September, the Department of Health said it has recorded 3,939 COVID-19 infections among those aged 12 to 17 years old. Health Officer in charge, Maria Rosario Borjere, said majority of these cases are mild and no death has been reported.
Had been this number of infections among students during this time that we started gradually opening the schools and having face-to-face. Pero sa tingin ko, hindi yan dapat maging balakid para patuloy na magkaroon ng full implementation ng face-to-face classes. Yun pong benepisyo na ibibigay ng face-to-face classes would outweigh the number of mild infections that had been experienced by our students.
The DOH data shows that 5.2 million of minors aged 5 to 17 years old are fully vaccinated, or 48.02% of the 10.8 million target to be vaccinated among the said age group. The result is in contrast to those aged 12 to 17 who have reached their target of vaccination. For the said age group, the DOH said more than 10 million were fully vaccinated, or more than the initial target of 8.9 million, and more than 1 million of the target are already boosted. Borjere reiterated the DOH is not recommending the administration of booster doses to minors from ages 5 to 11. Madeline Villar Moratillo reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A vaccine expert warns of an increase in the country's COVID-19 cases with the government's easing of its pandemic policy. Kim Liana reports.
Health experts and the Department of Health have warned of the possible increase in virus infections during holiday season, following the relaxation of COVID-19 restrictions in the country. The warning came after President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has approved the optional mask-wearing policy and the lifting of quarantine requirements for unvaccinated inbound travelers in the country. Dr. Nina Gloriani, chairperson of the DOST Vaccine Expert Panel, said there should be additional guidelines for unvaccinated individuals. She also encouraged the public to continue wearing face masks to ensure the safety of everybody.
Kailangan lang may guidelines din tayo. Ang papasok, kailangan may RT-PCR test na negative. Opo. At tapos, para sa akin, kasi itong Omicron especially, mabilis siyang makahawa. So, kunwari, pumasok siya, pumunta siya sa airport, tumakay ng aeroplano, wala siyang symptoms, o negative siya at that time, even at that time. After 3 days, hindi natin malaman sa inyo nakasalamuhan niya. 3 days po, up to 5 days, baka magkakaroon siya ng symptoms. So maybe another test. So kasi ang hirap, no, yung hindi bakunado, sila talaga ang mas maapektuhan nitong virus na.
Meanwhile, Gloriani said it would take time before the country can develop a bivalent vaccine or vaccines that would protect against the different strains and variants of COVID-19 virus. She added there are no applications submitted yet before the Food and Drug Administration or FDA for the Emergency Use Authorization or EUA for bivalent vaccines.
Ang pag-procure nitong bivalent vaccine sa atin, no? And as of now, ang alam ko, wala pang nag-a-apply sa FDA. So it takes at least a month or so para ma-evaluate after application, and then of course yung procurement, yung shipping process, and so on. Medyo matatagalan pa.
Go Negosyo, the private sector pushing for the vaccine, targets to buy 10 million doses of bivalent vaccine, but they would still conduct a survey of those interested in the vaccine to avoid wastage or the vaccine expiring. Experts continue to urge the public to avail of any available vaccine and not wait for the bivalent vaccine. Liana, reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will join fellow leaders next week in Cambodia at the 40th and 41st Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN Summits in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Office of the Press Secretary OIC Undersecretary Cheloy Garafil said the summit is held twice a year and serves as a venue for discussion and policy deliberations on various developments and global issues affecting the Southeast Asian region and beyond. The East Asia Summit, the ASEAN Plus 3 Summit, and the ASEAN Leaders Meeting with the United Nations Secretary General will be held concurrently. Garafil said these related summits would review the existing and new areas of cooperation and exchange views on regional and international issues between ASEAN and its dialogue partners, including Australia, Canada, China, India, the Republic of Korea, and the USA. During his visit to Cambodia, Garafil said the chief executive would meet with the Filipino community in Cambodia to update them on the programs and policies of his administration, especially on the protection and promotion of the rights and welfare of OFWs. After the ASEAN Summit in Cambodia, the president will attend the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting in Thailand. Up next, South Korea and the United States continue their air drills in response to North Korea's missile launches. Ukraine won't be participating in the G20 summit if Russia attends. And Iglesia Ni Cristo gives monetary donations and care packages to residents in Dawson Creek, Canada. These and more stories from around the globe when we return.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos, every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Ipagpapatuloy ang pag-aaral sa kasagsagan ng pandemya. Mabuti na lamang may mga kumpanya na matagal nang namumuhunan sa tinatawag na Learning Management Systems or LMS platforms tulad ng Kuiper Philippines. On this episode, let us educate ourselves on the ins and outs of educational technology through Yusuke Takagi, the CEO of Kuiper Philippines, and Anton Bailon, Head of Operations and Strategic Accounts of Kuiper Philippines.
Kuiper, actually, we built our LMS thinking with the Philippine school in mind.
When contents and LMS married each other, we can provide new education like blended learning or personalized learning or adaptive learning, we call it.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m. This portion is brought to you by 318 Automart, Arlex Trading and Construction Supplies.
The news continues here on Mata ng Agila International. South Korea and the United States will continue their ongoing air drills in response to North Korea's missile launches. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin made the announcement after meeting Thursday with his South Korean counterpart, Lee Jong-suk.
All of this activity is potentially destabilizing. And so, again, I think it's possible that they could continue to do that kind of thing, but certainly we are focused on making sure that they don't choose to employ a nuclear weapon or choose to attack South Korea.
South Korea's military scrambled 80 stealth jets on Friday after detecting the mobilization of 180 North Korean warplanes. Shortly after South Korea announced the decision to extend joint air drills with the United States, Pyongyang launched 3 more short-range ballistic missiles. Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff said Kim Jong-un's 80 artillery rounds landed in a maritime buffer zone. It also accused Pyongyang of clearly violating their 2018 agreement. Meanwhile, the recent actions of North Korea have shocked the residents of South Korea's island of Uliyeongdo. When the Pyongyang missile triggered the air raid siren in their region, no one knew what action to take next. Even local officials had no idea how to respond because the siren had not been heard in living memory. Protocol says people should have immediately gone into air raid shelters. Instead, officials sent out text messages. Government employees wander the streets, urging residents to find shelter. Authorities promise to do better next time. Analysts warn that Kim is building up to another nuclear test, hence the Seoul must prepare.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country will not participate in the upcoming G20 summit if Russian President Vladimir Putin also attends. The summit will be held later this month in Indonesia, and both countries have been invited by President Joko Widodo. Putin has not indicated whether he will attend.
The Polish government has started building a fence along its border with Russia's Kaliningrad enclave to prevent illegal crossings. Razor wires going up along the 210-kilometer border. The temporary fence will be 2.5 meters high and will be electronically equipped. Poland fears Russia will encourage illegal border crossings by Asian and African migrants in an attempt to destabilize the country. The fence is expected to be completed by the end of next year.
Imran Khan accused Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif of being behind the assassination attempt after he was shot in the leg at a rally. Khan also blamed Interior Minister Rana Sanaullah and Major General Faisal Nasir. His political party, PTI, urgently called for the immediate removal of the officials from their posts. However, the former prime minister and PTI offered no evidence that the 3 government officials were involved in the incident. Local reports said Khan barely escaped the incident as the gunman repeatedly fired shots at him. 1 man died and at least 10 people were wounded due to the shooting incident. Khan is now in a stable condition. Meanwhile, Khan supporters have taken to the streets across different cities to protest. They denounced the assassination attempt on the life of the former prime minister. On Twitter, PTI party leaders continue to urge the government to institute early elections. However, Sharif's government strongly rejected Khan's accusation that it was behind the attack. Sharif condemned the incident and tweeted that violence should have no place in their country's politics. He also demanded a police investigation into the assassination attempt on Khan.
Israeli fighter jets targeted a rocket manufacturing site in the Gaza Strip in response to rockets fired toward Israel. Israel Defense Forces said one of the rockets was intercepted while 3 others exploded inside the Hamas military site. According to IDF, the Hamas military site is used as a rocket developing and manufacturing complex. The impoverished Gaza Strip is home to 2.3 million Palestinians. The region has been under Israeli blockade since 2007, when Iran-backed Hamas seized power from the secular Fatah movement of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas.
Major new protests erupted in Iran on Thursday as people mourned the victims of a deadly crackdown by authorities. Police opened fire on stone-throwing protesters in a town near Tehran. Some demonstrators set fire to a garbage bin and a police patrol post. There were protests elsewhere across Iran, with security forces battling the crowds. For more than 6 weeks now, the country has been gripped by demonstrations sparked by the death of Mahsa Amini, who had been arrested by Iran's morality police. Dozens of people have died in the protests and thousands have been arrested. There are no signs that the danger or the anger is dying down. The problems for authorities are compounded by an Iranian tradition of holding a mourning ceremony 40 days after a death. That means each new killing could fuel new protest actions.
The United Nations warns nearly two-thirds of the population of the African nation of South Sudan is at risk of starvation. The UN blames ongoing conflict and climate change for food insecurity. UN spokesman Meshak Malo says the impact of the hunger crisis is especially hard on children.
It's really sad numbers of 7.76 million people. And the sad part that often we are not highlighting well is the 1.4 million children that are malnourished. These are kids that, if the situation continues, their brain development could be destroyed beyond repair.
Malo says the world's youngest country has been grappled with deadly conflict, natural disasters, economic malaise, and political infighting since winning independence from Sudan in 2011.
Violence continues in Ecuador as a prison riot Thursday left a dozen police and military officers wounded. The 12 were hurt trying to quell a riot at the infamous Guayas 1 prison in the southwestern port city of Guayaquil. They were confronted by inmates who had guns and explosives. Ecuador has seen a wave of violent crime, which authorities blame on turf battles between gangs with links to Mexican cartels. Hundreds of inmates have died in the country's overcrowded prisons as the gang wars continue behind bars. Widespread corruption among guards allows inmates to get their hands on guns, explosives, and other contraband.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump filed a lawsuit in Florida citing illegal persecution against New York Attorney General Letitia James. He alleged that James was attributing to a war of intimidation and harassment. Trump's charge came after James accused him and his family of financial fraud. The former POTUS also argued that James was not doing enough to alleviate New York's crime problems. He also claimed that James' legal pursuit would not be happening if he did not win the presidency in 2016. Meanwhile, Trump has hinted that he may run for the White House again in 2024. Trump and U.S. President Joe Biden are not on the ballot next Tuesday. Yet the midterms election is said to be an important event since American voters will decide the balance of power in the U.S. Congress and key state governorships ahead of the presidential election in 2024. Later in the news, Iglesia ni Cristo gives monetary donations and care packages to residents in Dawson Creek, Canada. Church of Christ extends help to residents and students in St. Marie, Ontario. And Ontario bans school workers' strike. These and more when Matanang Agila International returns.
Yung kilala ninyong superstar ngayon na Piolo Pascual ay...
I work as a security guard.
Okay, hindi ako makapaniwala dito sa narinig ko. Never ka nagka-attitude. Dumating ba yung part na lumaki ang ulo mo?
Yeah, admittedly, yeah. The industry has some room for me, so why not stay?
Yay! He's staying! Mapapanood ka pa rin namin.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Sa lahat ng mga marites na gusto malaman, bakit mukha pa rin bata si Piolo Pascual?
Cheers.
Okay? Cheers!
You ready na i-level up ang mga recipe nyo or to learn new recipes? Saka malaki talaga yung braso ko. I was made for mixing talaga. Join us this Saturday at 11 sa Lutong Daza. Para sa'yo to. I-G na natin to. G, guys!
tayo pag together. Walang talo pag together. Let's stand together. Sa Net25.
This point.
Lingap sa mamamayan or care for humanity of the Iglesia ni Cristo continues in other parts of the world. In Dawson Creek, Canada, the church, through its charitable arm, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, has provided monetary donations and care packages to organizations and residents in the area. From Canada, here's Gilan Kavanaugh.
Located about 800 miles north of Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, is the city of Dawson Creek with a population of just under 13,000. This city lies near the Alberta border and is also known as Mile Zero City as it sits at the beginning of the Alaska Highway. Long-time residents Karen and Maria see the benefits of living in a smaller community.
One of the beauties of a small community is that as a rule, people tend to know each other more, got a better chance of knowing more people and being more aware of the need, and therefore being more likely to be willing to become involved in helping others.
Despite small town living, residents like Heimlich and Charlie see some of the same problems faced by those in big cities.
Helping the poor. I've always had a burden for that since I was young.
In a small town, small city like this, problems are visible, challenges are somewhat in your face. Nothing is really hidden. The oil and gas industry pays very well. But there's a lot of poverty.
In fact, more than half, 53%, say they are $200 or less from not being able to meet all of their bills and debt obligations each month. With so many in need, even local organisations are struggling to provide help.
And we have some wonderful organisations in the town, stretched. Stretched not only financially, but stretched in personnel.
Having spent time helping other organisations, Heimlich had the opportunity to attend a humanitarian event here in Canada.
Spent quite a bit of time in humanitarian aid in Mexico mostly, working in orphanages and stuff. And so I just feel very much at home when I see something like this, you know, helping the poor, helping people who are in need of help.
The humanitarian event, the Care for Humanity project of the Church of Christ.
I think they are absolutely amazing and they are a godsend because the effort of reaching out and helping someone else is always a sacrifice one way or the other. And for them to be willing to do that, it's amazing, and I think they are amazing.
Well, my first initial reaction actually was, this is Christianity at its best. This is what Christianity to me is all about.
Our Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, is well aware of the struggles people are dealing with all over the world. Because of this, he instructed the General Auditor of the Iglesia ni Cristo, the Church of Christ, Brother Gresario P. Santos IV, who is also the CEO and President of the FYM Foundation, to organize the Care for Humanity throughout the world to extend God's love to all people.
Throughout the Ecclesiastical District of Edmonton, the Care for Humanity project provided hundreds of care packages to assist those in need. In addition to non-perishable food items, monetary donations were also given to various organizations.
We do indeed thank the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ for conducting the Care for Humanity here in Dawson Creek and for giving back to the community.
Thank you for considering the foundation in the first place. What that makes us feel is incredibly grateful to be a part of this bigger family. You're opening the door to us, and we are so grateful. It's amazing.
Thank you very much for choosing Calibi, one of your, recipient.
To see the work put in here today to aid the most vulnerable, the most in need is truly, truly heartening.
While many were happy to receive their care packages, even the smallest gestures were appreciated by guests in attendance.
You're giving back to the community, you're helping and making a difference, really, to people that, maybe are less than fortunate or, need some help. It's just, I don't know, it's heartwarming to see that. And
I have seen that it's a very close-knit community. Something that I haven't seen anywhere else, and honestly, it is close-knit family feeling.
The closeness felt by those during this Care for Humanity event has inspired guests to learn more about the worldwide humanitarian efforts of the Church of Christ and its Bible-based teachings.
It's been amazing. I was invited by my brother, and at first I wasn't sure because, like I said, I had been a bit disappointed with other groups, and so I wasn't sure if I wanted to. And with last-minute decision, I decided, you know what, I'll go try it. And I haven't regretted it at all. So it's been wonderful.
From Edmonton, Canada, Galen Kavanagh, Worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan special coverage.
A Care for Humanity event was also held in Sault Ste. Marie in Ontario, Canada, where residents and students alike received care packages from the Iglesia ni Cristo. From Ontario, Canada, we bring you PJ Bradley.
We have quite a bit of students who need the extra support at the end of the month or throughout the week to be able to make ends meet or just have enough food for themselves.
For residents and students in Sault Ste. Marie, food insecurity is the inadequate or insecure access to food due to lack of money, affecting almost 1 in 5 Toronto households.
As Vice President of Student Life in the Student Union, I found out the different difficulties that students face coming to a different country, perhaps starting all over again with their families, and one of it is housing and also the increasing costs in goods that they need for their daily expenses, for their daily needs.
Today, residents along with students living in the Sault Ste. Marie area gathered at the Marconi Cultural Event Center, where the Church of Christ, through its charitable arm, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, held a Care for Humanity event.
All that you're doing here and all that your organization is doing here helps address those issues and challenges, whether it be by food or saving them some extra money at the end of the month to be able to support themselves.
Over 3,000 pounds of non-perishable food items were given out to those in attendance, as well as the food bank at Sault College.
Have you ever been hit by acorn as well?
And among the recipients at the Marconi Cultural Event Center are Jenilyn and Prank, who expressed their appreciation for the care given today.
Very helpful, especially sa aming mga students and sa family dito. Very helpful yung naging Care for Humanity. You have provided yung care packages nyo, and they're very generous.
The care package will help me, syempre, pagkain sa groceries, makapag-survive siya for a week or 2 or maybe a month. Yung binigay nyo, talagang hindi lang siya hindi lang madami, sobrang dami.
Guests were introduced to the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ, by Supervising Minister Brother Glendo Baitan.
Conducted series of humanitarian projects.
And with videos showing past Care for Humanity events conducted throughout Canada, as well as with musical performances from church members.
INC is very generous when it comes to giving to people, to humanity. Like it doesn't matter what religion you are, we are human, and as a human, just be kind and humble, and help each other.
This event is very significant because it gives us the opportunity to fulfill the commands of the Lord God, to do good or to help whenever we possibly can. This event was beyond what we were expecting. Brethren, here in the group worship service of Sault Ste. Marie, they were able to invite hundreds of people as recipients of our Care for Humanity package. And some of them enlisted as Bible students, showing their interest in knowing more about the Church of Christ.
So this is one way of getting to know the church because I was invited to this event, and it would be nice to see how the services go. So I haven't heard of it much, but I know that you're a great community of helpers to the community.
With the assistance provided today, Sault Ste. Marie residents are feeling less burdened about where their next meal will come from, all due to the Care for Humanity project. This is PJ Bradley from Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, reporting for this special coverage of the worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan, Care for Humanity.
The province of Ontario in Canada has recently passed a law banning education workers from holding strikes. But those who support school workers say this law tramples upon their rights. Yolanda Aspiras reports.
This week, in response to the education workers' strike mandate, Ontario introduces the Keeping Students in Class Act, which aims to keep schools open, forcefully stopping the strike and rendering it illegal. Minister of Education Stephen Lecce claims that the new act will ensure students remain in class by making it illegal for education workers to strike. An alarming factor of this act is that it uses the notwithstanding clause to disregard parts of Canada's Human Rights Code and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and prevent education workers from holding a strike. Early in October, the Canadian Union of Public Employees, or QP Ontario, released poll results that revealed an overwhelming majority voting in favor of a strike. The reason: most education workers in Ontario are paid below a living wage. Lecce highlights that the government has improved their offer, a 2.5% salary increase for those making below $43,000 a year. Many education workers are saying this offer is still unfair, given Canada's nearly 7% inflation rate. Many Ontarians expressed their support for the education workers. One of them is Toronto's former mayor, David Miller, calling the province's actions illegal by overriding the Human Rights Code. QP education workers have gone on strike Friday. The new act then would mean that they could be fined up for $4,000 a day. Yolanda Aspiras, Toronto, Ontario. Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
In California, uninsured residents and those who need more affordable health coverage are urged to take advantage of the state's open enrollment season. Mylene Cusio reports.
It is healthcare open enrollment time for all California residents. The state is making it affordable for Californians to be covered for comprehensive health insurance coverage. Residents can now enroll through Covered California, which is the state's free service that helps one afford brand name health insurances by providing financial assistance to those who are eligible. California Governor Gavin Newsom urges everyone who is uninsured in the state to sign up now.
Hey, Californians, it's that time of year again. Open healthcare enrollment. Did you know that two-thirds of people who used Covered California can get health insurance for as little as $10 per month? $10 per month. At a time of runaway inflation, costs going through the roof everywhere, health insurance, health care for as little as $10 a month. And get this, an estimated 1 million Californians currently that are uninsured are eligible today for low or no-cost coverage through Covered California. So find out if you're eligible for financial assistance by visiting coveredca.com to learn more.
About 7% of California's population still has no health insurance coverage. And according to the California Healthcare Foundation, the majority are undocumented residents. Mylene Cusio, Los Angeles, California, Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A collaborative report by several health agencies in the United States says cancer deaths in the country continue on a downward trend with modest improvements in survival for pancreatic cancer. Jeff Sanidad tells us more.
According to the latest annual report to the nation on the status of cancer, cancer death rates continued to decline among men, women, children, and adolescents and young adults in every major racial and ethnic group in the United States from 2015 to 2019. The report also says that from 2014 to 2018, overall cancer incidence or new cases of cancer remained stable for men and children. However, it increased in women and adolescents and young adults. This year's cancer report, published October 27, highlights longer-term trends in pancreatic cancer as well as racial and ethnic disparities in incidence and death rates for many individual cancer sites. The report shows that from 2015 to 2019, overall cancer death rates decreased by 2% per year in men and women combined. The declines in death rates were steepest in lung cancer and melanoma by 45% per year among both men and women. Death rates increased for cancers of the pancreas, brain, and bones and joints among men and for cancers of the pancreas and uterus among women. The report shows that cancer incidence rates were relatively stable in men and women combined from 2014 to 2018. The annual report to the nation on the status of cancer is a collaborative effort among the National Cancer Institute, part of the National Institutes of Health, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the American Cancer Society, and the North American Association of Central Cancer Registries. Jeff Sanidad, Washington, D.C., Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Up next, Bank of England governor says UK could slide into 2-year recession. Twitter to slash workforce. And Manifest now on board to Netflix.
All been missing, presumed dead for 5.5.
Find out more about these stories when we return.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. May lalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
The governor of the Bank of England warns the UK could slide into a recession that could last as long as 2 years. Andrew Bailey's star prediction comes as the UK central bank hiked its interest rate by 0.75%. Bailey says he had no choice but to push rates up.
If we do not act forcefully now, it will be worse later on. And as the forecast we are publishing today shows, it is a tough road ahead. The sharp increase in energy prices caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine has made us poorer as a nation. The level of economic activity is likely to be flat and even fall for some time.
The increase matches yesterday's rate hike by the U.S. Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank last week.
The axe will fall on thousands of Twitter employees beginning today. On Thursday, new owner Elon Musk sent out a company-wide memo that employees would learn their fate at the start of business Friday, California time. It says employees will be notified by email if they still have a job. The memo says to place Twitter on a healthy path, it will go through the difficult process of reducing its global workforce. There are reports that up to half of the company's 7,500 workers could be let go. Musk has already started his house cleaning by dissolving the company's board of directors and firing its CEO and top managers.
Serena Williams, Lewis Hamilton, and Stephen Curry are among the global high-profile investors named as backers of Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy's technology golf venture to start in 2024. Woods and McIlroy unveiled plans in August for their new company, TMRW Sports. TGL will feature golf shots by top players at a virtual layout in a custom-made venue in 18-hole, 2-hour made-for-television matches. 6 three-man teams will compete in a regular season and playoffs starting in January 2024. Mike McCarley, TMRW Sports co-founder and chief executive officer, says they have assembled a team of investors who will help deliver on the TMRW Sports mission to positively impact how sports is experienced in the future. Sports and entertainment icons who have invested in TMRW Sports included Williams, who moved on from tennis after the U.S. Open in September, and 7-time Formula One world champion Hamilton. The golf venue will feature large screens for virtual tee shots and approaches and on-site green area for chipping and putting. The tech golf hybrid would do away with the walking issues that have been a major concern for Woods since suffering severe leg injuries in February 2021. He came back at this year's Masters and also played the PGA Championship and British Open, but struggled over 72 holes.
Attention passengers, here's a calling you do not want to miss. Manifest's 4th season lands today on Netflix. After the show's premiere on NBC back in 2018, Manifest is now set to hit our screens as it will be available on the streaming giant tonight. Its supersized 20-episode final season will be seen starting today with a story of a plane that mysteriously lands years after takeoff, with passengers returning to a world that has moved on without them. Netflix's Manifest is not based on a true story, but it somehow is connected to a real-life plane disappearance.
You felt what Beverly was feeling? That is next level.
I don't think...
To help you start your weekend, here's a quote from Rick Pitino, an American college basketball coach. Humility is the key to true success. Successful people lose their way at times. Now let's take a look back at what happened in history on this day, November 4. In 1946, UNESCO was officially established as its constitution entered into force. This specialized agency of the UN called for the promotion of international collaboration in education, science, and culture. In 2001, the first film adaptation of J.K. Rowling's best-selling Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, premiered in London. And in 2008, Democratic politician Barack Obama became the first African American to be elected President of the United States.
I like the quote you read earlier. Let me just repeat that. Here is a quote again from Rick Pitino, an American college basketball coach. He said, "Humility is the true key to success. Successful people lose their way at times."
And as we were saying earlier, the true key to improving yourself is, first of all, acknowledgement.
Acknowledge your mistakes. And, you know, it's right. No, you lose your way when you think you're so successful that you are not open to criticisms anymore.
Exactly. You lose sight of ways to improve yourself.
And that is if the success gets to your head. And that is a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am CJ Heroin. It's Friday.
Friday. I am Nina Richie Alago Flores, wishing everyone a happy weekend. Stay safe, everyone. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.